Hi everyone, I'm the Tax Pro, and today we're going to talk about utilizing the bank transactions area in QuickBooks Online. So this is the dashboard of ABC Creative, which is our demo company. And I'm going to show you first how to navigate to bank transactions, and then I'll show you how to utilize it. So there's a couple different ways we can navigate. We can go over here to the My Apps, scroll up to Accounting, and then come over to bank transactions right here. Now this right here is the dashboard. I just logged in. And so you can also come over here where it says bank accounts, and you can select one of the bank accounts there, and it will take you here to the bank transactions page. So these transactions come into the bank transactions page a couple of different ways. You can get the transactions in there by connecting your bank account. If you connect your bank account, you can connect credit cards too. But if you connect your bank account, what will happen is QuickBooks will automatically import transactions for the accounts that you tell it to. Okay, so you could automatically get them into the bank feed, which is this area right here, by connecting your bank account. And I have another video going over that. As a reminder, you start here with the link account button. The other way to get transactions in here is to actually just import them via a CSV file. So you can import transactions via different types of files, and those come into the bank feed here. So these have been imported with a CSV file. Again, I have another video on that if you guys want to see instructions on how that works. So once that happens and we get transactions into our bank feed, these transactions are technically inside of our QuickBooks Online account, but they're not actually within the checking account yet. We have to add them to the checking account and tell QuickBooks where to put them. So getting them into this bank feed is not enough. We now have to tell QuickBooks what they are and where they go. And QuickBooks has changed the bank feed quite a bit. So this is the 2025 update that everybody's starting to see. And it can look a little bit confusing, right? So this is how it looks now. It used to look a little bit different. So I'm going to show you how to utilize this. And then if you have any questions, let me know. So here you're going to see all these transactions waiting to be added. And we can sort them a variety of different ways. So we can have them sorted by date. We can have them sorted by description and spent, received, all that good stuff. I like to sort by description if I have a large number of transactions and I want to see like all the transactions to a specific vendor. I'll sort by description, otherwise I'll sort by date. So we'll just start sorting with the date. So there's a couple of new things here. So we'll see we have the date, we have the bank description is going to pull in from either the bank or the CSV file. And then we have spent and received. So we have two separate columns. Everything that went out of the account is going to go here, and everything that's come into the account is going to be in this received column. Now we also have this new column that has this little clip, paperclip icon. This is for us to add receipts. So if we click on this button right here, it's going to pop up a window for us to add a receipt. So you can upload a receipt and connect it right to the transaction there. This right here allows us to request more information. I'm going to show you how this works here in a minute. And then this allows us to select either the customer or the vendor that this transaction is with. And then we can categorize right here. The other thing we can do is we can click on this and it creates more of a drop down. This gives us it kind of looks more similar to what we've seen in the past with QuickBooks. So we can put our transaction type, we can select our account or category, we can have the customer or vendor, and then we can also put in a product or service if needed. We can put in a memo. We can also exclude it, split it into multiple accounts, create a rule, and I'm going to show you what all of those are. So here, this says Intuit deposit. So this is going to be, we're utilizing Intuit, and we have received a deposit from them. And now if you're utilizing Intuit payments, this may match to a transaction already in QuickBooks. This was uploaded via a CSV file, so there's no transaction to match this to right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a customer. So this is from Alfred, and it is going to go into sales of product income. And then over here, I can split it, create a rule, look at the history, exclude it, or I can choose to post it. So this is going to add it to the actual register within QuickBooks Online. So I just increased my sales by adding that into QuickBooks. So now my revenue in QuickBooks just went up by that amount of the deposit. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here, and this is an Intuit. So this is a fee for that particular transaction. And you'll see that when I click on this, it's going to expand the information. So I'm going to see the full bank memo in the expanded version. So this is giving me some AI insight. This is saying, oh, you might want to consider putting it into office supplies or something along those lines. We are going to select Intuit, and you'll see we don't have Intuit here. You can still add a vendor straight from this screen like you were able to before. And then I'm going to put, oh, we don't have a payment processing. So I'm going to go ahead and add a payment processing fee expense. So you can add that right in the bank feed page itself. So I went ahead and added that. Sometimes this gets a little glitchy. There we go. So there you can see it's in payment processing fees for Intuit, and we can post it. So now our payment processing fees just went up because I just added that into QuickBooks. So you get the idea. You can kind of just go through and you can add vendors, you can add the category. So what happens if we have a transaction that's in here that there is a similar transaction within QuickBooks? You'll notice down here for this constant contact transaction, it is trying to match rather than asking me to categorize. And that is because there is an expense within QuickBooks on 9/2 for constant contacts for $12. And so if we expand this, it is going to tell us what it is trying to match to. So we can see the actual bank data here, and it says I found one expense with an open balance of $12 issued between these dates. So a couple things to keep in mind here. It is searching back multiple months. So if I utilize constant contact on a monthly basis, I need to make sure that the date on this transaction matches the date in the bank feed. It might be off by a day or two just based on when we've entered it and then when QuickBooks is actually recognizing the transaction. So that is a possibility. But we want to make sure that the dates are very similar and that we're not matching this to a transaction in like a prior month. So this is going to show us 9/2. It's also going to show us the vendor here, constant contact. Every once in a while, QuickBooks does some wonky things where like this might be something along the lines of like, you know, a taco store or something like that, like maybe Condados. And it's going to say Condados instead of constant contact, and QuickBooks is going to be like, oh, it sounds similar, and it's going to match this transaction because it was for $12. Got to be careful with that because QuickBooks will try to match kind of some odd transactions that way, even though they're not the same. So we've confirmed that this looks the same. This is obviously constant contact for $12 on 9/2. It's exactly what's coming through. And we know that in this particular account, we're only going to see one constant contact monthly charge. So we're going to match it. And now it is going to have matched that particular transaction. If we had just categorized the constant contact rather than matching it, we would actually end up with two expenses in QuickBooks instead of one. And so it would have double counted that transaction. Now you would have found that out when you were reconciling the account, but the reconciliation process would have been a little bit of a pain and we would have had to go in and correct it. So it's always best to try to match where possible. So then we have this premium. So this here is for premium heat. So I'm going to show you how to split this transaction in here. So let's say that we have, maybe premium heat had two separate components. Maybe $300 of this was utilities, and then the rest of it was to repairs and maintenance. And we want to split this $545 between those two accounts. We can come down here and we can select split. Now it is going to pull up kind of a little bit of an overwhelming page. So let's just kind of walk through and fill it out. So we paid premium heat, and this is going to be a new vendor. I'm not going to add all the details. I'm just going to throw this, in quickly to add it. It is going to give you information for various vendors that are in the QuickBooks Business Network. That's just recommendations from QuickBooks. We don't have to utilize that. So now I can add multiple different categories. So utilities, maybe $300 of this was an actual utility charge. You'll notice here, if we scroll down, the split amount so far that we've entered is $300. However, the original amount was $545. So QuickBooks is saying you're still out by $245. This is a problem. And so we can come here and we can add the rest to repairs and maintenance. If we scroll down now, you'll see the difference is $0, and QuickBooks is super happy with that. If, again, we go back to 300, notice that it's not going to allow you to post the transaction until you have made it match. So that's a nice part about QuickBooks here, is it's not going to let you make that transaction and have just $245 that you have no idea where it went to. It's going to make it so that the difference is $0. So we're going to split and post, and now that transaction is out of here. Now let's say that we see a charge, and for some reason it came through the bank feed, but it shouldn't be there. So there was a mistake with the bank, or maybe it came through as the wrong amount. Something wonky happened. So let's say that Canva right here, this really shouldn't be here. We can actually go ahead and exclude this transaction, and this will take the transaction out of the bank feed, but it won't add it into the actual registers in QuickBooks. So we've just moved it out of the bank feed, so it's not there. So we can exclude that. And then let's say that we have, this Adobe charge, but we don't know what this is for. So we're looking and we see it's for Adobe and we're unsure. We can go ahead and click this button here, and we can request additional information, or maybe we want to see a receipt, or we want to have more information. So we can type a personal note right here, or we can just use these ask for more info or ask for receipts. And so then we can do a couple different things. We can add and post. So this would be if we have already determined, yes, it should go into office supplies, and we've already put Adobe here. So we could just ask for the receipt and ask for additional details, but we've already put it into something and we're ready for it to go into the QuickBooks Online Register. We're comfortable with where we're categorizing it, but we just want a receipt. So we could add and post, or we can just add the request to the list, okay? And so we can say we're not comfortable categorizing it until we get additional information. A couple things happen here. One, you're gonna have a little chat bubble here, so you can see, okay, there's obviously been a request on this particular transaction. And then two, we have a request up here. So if we click on the request button, it is going to take us to requests. And so we can see what our requests are. We can see a thread with conversations. So this would be if we have other people on our QuickBooks account, they're going to go ahead and be able to collaborate on this. They can attach items here. The other thing that we can do is we can send requests. So I could send my request to a specific email. Perhaps I see that it was on Stacy's card. I could send an email to Stacy, and then she would get an email here to be able to collaborate on this particular receipt and provide the information that we're looking for. Okay, so while the bank transactions page I think looks a little bit more confusing than it did before, there's a couple more features than what was in the prior version. And so the new version for 2025, it might take a minute to get used to, but you can do some additional collaboration within the actual bank transaction page, which will help you keep your books accurate. It's a little wonky looking, but I think that you'll like it once you get used to it. As a reminder, this is what the previous version looks like. And it's going to ask us to have some, information. It's going to ask us why we want to change it. But this is what the previous version looked like. It's a lot friendlier. So this is what it looks like, or what it did look like. And now this is what it looks like now. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. If this was helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. And I will see you guys next time.